All right.
No idea why, but okay.
All right, Bill, second.
Recording.
I know.
I like
Let me
these.
call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is public comment. Items not on agenda.
Private conversation.
Do you want to come in there, or do you want to come in someplace else? Or do you not want to come in at all?
I'll come in right now if
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So Nick called with concerns the other night after he was transported by the ambulance. He was under the impression that it was one of our vehicles that broke down, which it wasn't, it was orange.
We don't have an
How many
We don't
ambulances
have-
do we have on?
Excuse me?
How many ambulances do we have?
Well, right now, we have 0, but I'm working on getting about 12. I'd like to get like 12. No, we don't have any. But.
Hello, Patricia. I'm putting you on speakerphone. Meeting's been called to order and we're in citizen concerns and Ron Gates is speaking. Pass on the phone.
No, that's there wasn't a major problem that I know of with the ambulance. They have 2 other ambulances for backup. But what had happened is they were on the way to the call, and once they hit Route 78, the ambulance lost power. They could only go 25 miles an hour. So they did what they were supposed to do and called for a backup ambulance to head this way. And Athol ended up transporting. Things like that happen, but Nick was just concerned it was one of our vehicles. He wanted to-
That was all. It seemed to me we don't want to have an ambulance that goes crump on us.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't our ambulance, it was ours.
Sounds like a bad film.
So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I didn't hear.
If I may, there has been a history of Orange having financial difficulties and having difficulty keeping ambulances running over the recent few years. And one of the things I've been doing is that we pay a donation, which Orange considers a assessment. I pay it at the end of the year.
yeah.
So if, it comes to pass, as it did a few years ago, they had no ambulances at one point.
You
Right,
shouldn't
yeah.
be paying for cars that give in on us.
Well, like I said, they
Vehicles that
have
give in on us, but
2 backup ambulances now, so
garlic
if one breaks down, hopefully it's not during a call, but if one breaks down, they have another one to
yeah,
back
I do
them
want to
up.
say that everything went so smoothly yesterday. I once again couldn't believe that your volunteers not only did you get to my house in about 5 minutes with 5 people,
That's a minute a person, that ain't bad at all.
that's what we're looking at. It wasn't bad at all. And the ambulance switch happened so fast I wasn't even aware of it.
Yeah,
I just thought,
When Athol went by the armory, he had to be doing 70, 75.
I just
He was
thought
wired.
that probably the board should be aware of it. And so I asked you to come.
I am working on getting Northfield Ambulance Service as secondary. They're now paramedic level, so they can respond. If Orange can't, Northfield would be second in line, and then they'd go from there on.
My experience has always been positive. when they came to our house, they did the sewer.
Yeah,
They came and
Orange,
got me a couple of times before they found out about it.
Orange definitely has a good crew and respond quite quickly. No worries, Nick, no worries. We got things under control.
Yeah, there's no question you have things under control. But I don't have things under control. I should have known that you
Right.
don't have your own, that you don't have your own ambulance, so I drew it.
Well, a lot of, I know a lot of times people believe that we do. I don't understand why they think that, but I'm
Well,
gonna,
it says
I'm
orange.
gonna clear, yeah. I'm gonna clear that up in the newsletter anyways, at least. Get that information out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think Patricia was trying to say something.
On to, I guess, approval of minutes, right? Right.
Yes,
Tricia has a question about it.
what's your question,
Here
Patricia?
as well as we did last week.
Talk louder.
Oh,
Am I all right?
he will be.
I hope so.
Yes, I'm all right. There's a follow-up with the hospital tomorrow, but I'm all right.
Is there a volume adjuster on her? She was louder, we heard her better last week.
Yeah, last week you could hear it
There's
yourself.
minutes of previous meeting. Does anybody have a motion?
Agenda.
That works.
Flip the page.
In charge of technology.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Chapter 268 exemptions, are there any?
I know of none. You don't have any, Rosa? But it is back on the agenda.
Okay, preparation for STM, that is a little bit, I guess it's your,
Well, the moderator likes to know who's making the motions and who's speaking first. And then the other thing that I think would be in order is for the select board to take a stand on the two articles, because townspeople look for that. Obviously, the select board called the special town meeting, as a part of this, but I was looking first, I guess, for a motion that the select board recommends the articles. And then, 1, 2, we can decide who's making which motion, because I don't think Patricia will be able to be here. And then lastly, we want to put a strong speaker up first for each piece. And I do know that the Kukowskis have changed their plans, so they will be at the special town meeting. I haven't spoken to them about being first speaker, and
I would recommend one of them
for the stretch code.
in the stretch code, and probably Ted Beatty for the first one.
that would be good. But we certainly need to ask Ted, because sometimes he stays silent on things unexpected.
I had
You
the
need to call
impression
me.
he was not going to be here for the meeting.
Actually, his plans changed, and he is back. In fact, he piled on the list discussion on road closure. I actually thought he was going to be challenging me next time I saw him, but he seems to be working in somewhat less than totally serious. Read his post on the list. So he will be back. If nobody else wants to speak to the zoning piece, I'll certainly do so. I understand it and carried the water from the selectmen to the. I also thought Nick's overview in terms of the world and energy, I wouldn't want to leave it at that, but if you were this first speaker, and
Well, I'd be happy to put in my 2 bits, including that. If there's a shortage of speaking now.
So we didn't vote the recommendation, so let me just shut up and let you do that first.
I move that we recommend Article 1 and 2 as printed.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
I can tell you that we had I thought, a really good meeting with the fellow from DOER, the presenter, and the right people were there. There were a number of builders. We also had a HERS rater, who is the consultant, external official who's required of new home construction there to answer questions. And I thought it went 2 hours. I thought it went well.
You're talking about the meeting that I stumbled into when I think you were there.
Right.
I agree, I thought it was a very good meeting.
it seemed to me that the discussion on the L afterwards resolved a number of issues as well. And I was pleased to hear that.
Yeah, there's definitely a sentiment, a valid sentiment that you know, government is making me spend more money than I have to, and it's true. I didn't think I got the answer, but several people have told me I just missed it. My question had to do with, if you don't adopt the stretch code, which then right now we're subject to the 2012 International Building Code, and my question was, what do you get for a HERS rating if you follow that prescriptive code of 2012? And the end result is no more onerous. The stretch code, the current stretch code, is no more places, you know, the end product is no more efficient than what you get by following the prescriptive. You do it this way, you do it this way, you do it this way, you do it this way across the board. The difference with the stretch code is that you get to fashion a solution. You could end up using slightly less insulation if you use this slightly more efficient heating system and end up with the same rating. And I kind of like that, but there's this pretty strong sentiment that not fair to be, you know, making people spend extra money on the front end when it's a difficult thing sometimes to come up with the money. So it'll be an interesting town meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll
Those concerns are valid, but I sort of think over the years, answers them.
I think I figured out without a test that my house that I built in 1976, you know, for the rest, still probably building it, probably has a HERS rating of 250, and the target for a stretch code house is 65 currently. That high number is bad. Burning extra wood and such. So I know what I can do with my retirement. I can rebuild my
Do
house.
we happen to know what the retrofitted house that Steve
Yes, you know, it's been done. Steve and Janice's house, as it exchanges, it takes 4 hours for that house to exchange the air in it. And to the point that they have to have mechanical air handlers to get the right amount of fresh air into it. The other concern that folks have expressed is that we're buying it hook, line, and sinker, including the future changes. However, two things I would say to that. One, there doesn't seem to be much agreement to move on beyond the current stretch code right now among building officials. They're really close, the prescriptive 2012 and the stretch code as it currently stands, but merging them or bringing the stretch code further along, and there doesn't seem to be any movement that way. And then the fellow from the state pointed out that if it changes and we don't like it, we can vote it down, and we don't have to give back the grant money. We want to make sure we had it spent before we change it.
I can fix that.
That's gonna be another
Lighthouse.
issue. Some people would really feel that we should have ironclad, what are we gonna do with the money? And we don't. One of the things Wendell did was use some of the money to rebate homeowners that 25% that the other incentive programs aren't paying, to encourage and incent residents to do work on their homes. The town could decide that if we can meet the 20% reductions that we have to over the next 5 years, we could say, well, let's put it all in photovoltaic and, you know, lower our energy bill.
Mhm.
So the application, if this passes, that I'll be writing, is going to be real broad in scope in terms of what our projects are, but we only have to, if we're approved as a green community, and along with that comes this initial $130-ish thousand grant, we only have to have one project. In Wendell's case, they bought a thermal camera for $950, and that sealed the deal. And now they're considering how to do it, and that's what I'm thinking we need to do, rather than let the money burn a hole in our pocket or expend it without giving it good thought.
I can see that this is going to be a very interesting meeting, and I'm sorry, I probably am not going to be there.
Well, you'll be back soon.
Well, we can certainly telephone you in, you just aren't, it's not gonna work to have you speaking at the meeting, but for you to listen in, I think would be entirely possible, Pat.
Well, if that's possible, I would really like to do it.
I recognize John.
Thank you. I recognize you too. My question is, this photovoltaic, or whatever you said, like the stuff that's on the roof, how much of that would you have to run a house? And how much would it cost roughly? Does anybody know?
It would depend on the house.
Look at Christine Goodwin's house down the road there. It's a fair-sized house, and it's got about 3 times as many panels.
Yeah.
And I don't think that
16, she said.
I don't think that that's a net zero house, if from an electrical standpoint, but they got some other things going on there too, like,
So it takes quite a bit then.
yeah.
Probably one of
The
those
system
windmills
on our roof here is rated 1 kilowatt.
I
So
have no idea what that.
it's about 1/6 of the town hall's energy.
That's good.
On the other hand, yeah, it helps. The town hall's energy bill, today's prices, is about $175, and if we didn't have the solar, it would be $210 or something
Yeah.
at today's prices.
Should we move on?
Nick, Bill's got,
Oh, hello.
I understand the board and the coordinator seeking grant money for the town. And, you know, I applaud that. This situation actually seems to me to be one that shouldn't be voted on because it usurps the individual landowner's rights to do what they will do on their property, and it imposes the neighbor's view of what should be done on their property. And in light of being government officials is one thing. Being individuals who have living circumstances like most of the people in the town, where your standard for somebody else is far and above what your own standard is, seems to me to be kind of harmful to a neighborly way of life.
Could I ask you please to go to the letter, because my hand is getting numb, and I'd like to get that finished before I get numb.
She wants to go to the letter.
She wants to go to the letter.
All
Okay.
right. I did say what I believe to be enough on that subject. I have sunk 13 years into my property, and I would like to be able to build the type of house I want to build on it. And I wasn't thinking that my neighbors were going to put roadblocks in the way. So I personally would be voting against that measure.
here's something you might think about. Uh, I am, and you are, entering a period in which we may find the whole world unlivable. And this is something being imposed on me by my neighbors and by,
Where's the causal connection between me building a house and the world coming to an end?
there in fact is one. And we don't, you know, you're building a house is small potatoes, but everybody building houses and thereby turning forests into houses and presumably using a lot of energy in the house depending on what its size is.
I
and
am
how it
planning to
operates.
build an off-grid house.
I'm sorry?
I am planning to build an off-grid house. So in doing that on my own property, where is it your right to step in there and tell me what I should do and what I should have for wattage of bulbs, and that I can't get a stove from my mother instead of putting in a brand new energy efficient stove?
You can, you probably won't get any insurance, but you can.
Right,
So
and
I think I'm going to have to put the phone down for a while.
I'm not go, I think that Pat wants to get on with the meeting and you and I could have a philosophical argument about this that would go on for some years, so
Right, but
I'll
I-
drop it.
Honestly, I think Bill's right, though.
I'm sorry?
I think personally, Bill's right.
it's the same thing as saying I vote to have the pipeline come in and take your land. It's
Well,
not
except
fair.
if I build a new house, I get to do it, it affects me too, and if John builds a new house, it affects him, it affects everybody.
Yeah, it does. I see that, but when I built my house, I mean, the code was 3.5 inches and 2x4s. And I just went to 2x6s and 6 inches. It wasn't that much more money.
Uh-huh.
Well, and the stretch code would allow you, if the flexibility to do that.
You can exceed stretch code now with current building code. It's your choice. What I'm talking about is individuals' rights.
I do
And they're
think
being
it's
stepped on.
a philosophical argument that could go on for years and therefore
I think
I'm
we're-
not gonna put in my 2 bits and we'll go on to the next item.
We're off the agenda.
Uh,
I
And
have
we
a
will-
question.
you have a question?
Have we been assigned which articles we will present?
No, I have not.
You want to do that, since it says we should here?
That's a good point. Do we want to do that now or can we do
All
it?
we need to do is say, one, you get one and I get 2, whatever.
Sounds good to me.
He's the
Okay.
chair.
So you do the first
2
one.
is
I'll
the
do-
stress code?
Yeah.
Why don't I take the stress code?
Okay.
Which one's first, stretch code or zoning?
I'm
The
sorry?
zoning is first.
So you will take the first and Nick the second.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, what are we doing?
She's
Dawn's
taking
gonna-
the first one,
Dawn's
you're doing
gonna
the
read the
second.
first one, you're gonna read the second.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna discuss this letter. Do you folks recall the email I sent out about this letter? And its factual content a month ago?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Has
Well,
that been corrected in this version?
it has not.
Okay.
It involved rewriting the letter, but
Okay.
we asked you to direct the state's Department of Energy.
I'm sorry, Nick. I'm going to have to leave the meeting at this point.
Okay, do you want us to call you back, or you wanna call back in a little while?
I'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so let us go on then. Let us go back to the town clerk requested additional election worker appointments. Town clerk, you're on.
Art Long and Ann Kendall came up to me during the election and asked to be election workers in the future. So in the spirit of supplemental appointments, then Ann Kendall and Arthur Long would need to be appointed for a term ending August 31st, 2015. They apparently didn't read the newsletter or on the L because they didn't know all the pleas I put out. They were just put out that I hadn't asked them, but I didn't know.
20 what, 15?
August 31st, 2015.
Next.
Are
Which
there any
is-
objections from anyone?
I move that we appoint Art Long and Ann Kendall as election workers for a term ending August 31st, 2015.
And I believe Patricia is temporarily absent, so I second.
Okay?
Any other discussion?
No,
All those in favor? Aye.
why don't we hold the letter until Patricia comes back?
Let's leave it alone until she comes back, right? Third-party agreement for inspection and transfer station. Do we have it? Are there any objections to our executing it?
No?
So motion
Then let's just do it.
to approve and authorize Nick to sign. I may have left it on my desk, but we get the
I think there's a
authorization.
consensus because I asked if there are any objections and there are none. If you'd rather, we can do a motion.
Well, I like the motion because
It's okay.
the
Do a
district
motion.
is crazy. They think they need every selectman's signature, and what the law
Okay.
really needs is a vote to authorize the chairman to sign.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Second.
And it's $75 after all.
So this would be
It's
to
been
sign-
moved and seconded. We do a
Execution of
request,
third party.
basically. And is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the actual motion reads everything that was on here, that you approve and authorize Nick to sign the execution of third-party inspection of transfer station for $75. This is gonna.
Yep.
I'm gonna get worded
Okay.
exactly.
Hand it to me at some point and I'll sign it.
Sure.
Litigation, campground filed.
All right, we don't want to get into too much detail without going into executive summary. However, the campground has filed an appeal. The appeal has 2 counts. That is puzzlement. There's really only 1 count, and that's the chapter 40, whatever, 40A, appeal of a building inspector's order that was upheld by the ZBA. So our counsel is answering the 2 count and multiple points, and he will be asking the judge to strike the request for attorney's fees, which is only appropriate when bad faith is alleged, and he will be asking either for a bill of particulars or asking the judge to strike the 2nd count, because it's only one thing. It's only a zoning piece. I feel we have real competent counsel. He's counseled for a whole bunch of other small towns, and he's going to be right on this because he's going into a trial in the next few days, and said he has to get it done before that because he won't be doing anything but breathing and eating that trial.
It sounds like he knows what he's doing.
I do think so.
This is good.
I emailed a copy of the case, the filing, which includes our ZBA's findings, and I found that document rather impressive.
So you said town council will be asking for a bill of particulars or to strike the 2nd count, and what was the other thing? Something about fees.
He will be asking the judge to strike the request for attorney's fees. I had to do some front end work with the ZBA. When you get named in a lawsuit and it's not clear you're being named as a ZBA member, but you're just being named, it's unnerving. It's a good way to clean out your ZBA, and that may be what they're trying to do. I don't know.
Okay.
So we're on top of it.
Maybe don't put
As
that
long as
in
you're on
the
top of it and the lawyers are on top of it,
Maybe
all
don't,
we can hope.
maybe don't put that comment in the minutes.
Okay.
That's what they may be trying to do.
No, all I wrote was what
Okay.
David said the town council was asking for.
Okay.
Nope, nothing else.
And
I believe if you want to read this appeal thing, they brought something into the town clerk's office and I file it. I did not read it. But if you want to see what was brought to the town clerk, it's in my office.
It's this, I scanned it and emailed it to you.
does council have any problems with our making public that that's what he's gonna do, or should this all be,
No, he's okay,
okay?
he's okay. I mean, anybody could, as soon as he files the pleading, the only real question we had, that he and I had was, should he just call up that attorney and say, what gives? You know, this is highly irregular. You're gonna make me go through filing a motion, or would you agree to? And just decided that the safest thing to do would be to, get it in well under the 20 days that you have to answer a complaint, and just put it out there.
Yeah,
So that was really the only question, just whether to spend any time trying to negotiate it.
those things usually don't do any good because the moving party is getting paid by the hour. I see the next thing is select board reports and arguing about Winchester Road to day closure. So why not? It's more questions than report. I agree, they've got the right to close it, and there shouldn't be any dispute about them closing it and no exceptions. On the other hand, it came to me, at least, right out of the blue from somebody on the street, which says, not very good notice, but I might be wrong, maybe there was very good
I
notice.
think there was more.
Well, there were
They got sign down, yeah.
lit signs for more than a week.
Yeah, it was posted.
Nobody had a question until this week.
Sorry.
There were lit signs up for more than a week. They were located by the highway garage, and another one as you're entering Warwick at the Winchester line. Now today, because the job starts tomorrow, the signs were moved to up by Coolix in the intersection and down by the Drum Restaurant at the intersection of 2A. There will be police officers posted at each end of the closed road, and they will be able to tell people who are confused, how to get from here to there.
It was also posted on the town
They'll
hall
tell
up there,
people-
up here.
If they're, essentially, it will give them a,
But they're saying,
Oh, wait,
well, they'll say,
way
I'm
to
trying
go.
to get to such and such, and the officer can explain a route to them. It seemed to me initially a little weird that my understanding was that no detour proper would be posted, but I can understand it. The only detour that keeps you in Warwick to get around the closed road is Old Winchester Road. And if we were to take the 1,400 cars a day, trucks a day, over the Old Winchester Road, it would be impossible. It's not even much more than a lane and a half wide, much of the road. So it makes sense to take the steps that were done to notify and discourage the regular through traffic. We're the hypotenuse from Route 91 to Route 2A without going through Greenfield. And I mean, I saw a tandem tractor trailer come through here today. There were short boxes, so I presume they were legal under the but
so there's gonna be a
Yeah, now
recommendation, and
it's-
that's gonna be posted.
but there's not I mean, when we closed it briefly recently for a culvert replacement, there was a truck exclusion, but there was a detour, but Flower Hill was the detour, which is largely a paved road, if not paved all the way these days. But heavy trucks were excluded, but the road will be closed where Flower Hill terminates into Winchester Road, so.
Well, it sounds as if they are doing precisely what I would have suggested, so, super.
Does anyone
End of
know,
report.
does anyone know what started all this madness? Oh, the whole 25 email notices, yeah.
I would say, speaking personally, when somebody had their own comfort and convenience in mind,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
It's not that much harder to drive a car down Old Winchester Road.
I don't know where some of the stories came from, and some of the personal attacks were just,
Yeah.
just, Pat wrote a nice thing, I think the
Yeah.
last thing that came up, and I think people took a step back after that, she posted that,
Except for Charles,
I don't know who that is, but.
whatever his name was.
Morrow.
Well,
He used to live on Jefferson Road.
He suggested that the board resign,
The board resigned.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
Charlie,
we
where was
could
that
go out and
Yes,
have
he
a coffee
did.
and.
I would actually hope that people treat the highway department crews and the paving crews the way they should treat the police and fire when they're on a scene. And not the way that sometimes we do get treated, because there have been a number of times where my life's been put in danger, as well as I'm sure Chief Shoemaker and so many other people. So when I see conversations like that, it's upsetting.
I was upset by the whole,
I was very, very surprised, speaking as the chief of police. I have received nothing. I have received no calls, no complaints, no questions, nothing of
I
this.
think we should
Yeah.
put this all on you.
I was the one, I will take that. I was the one that said that the road needs to be closed. And I had a whole list of things, and I conferred with the highway department, the fire chief, the town coordinator, and, for the issues that were raised, for the 2 days of a little bit of inconvenience for people, I think it has to be done.
Maybe we should,
Will that be closed at night too, Sue, or? No, just during the day.
6 to 6.
I think we need to have a policy for road closure, not tonight, but also I think we should make Chief Shoemaker in charge.
Well, he is under the law.
Yeah, but make it public, that,
I suppose, I don't think we need a policy to follow the law.
no,
Shu has noted to me that he's always wondered about the select board closing Athol Road. And it's, the power lies with the chief of police.
well, I hereby move,
I think one of the underlying questions,
Wait, she's gonna make a motion, so.
well, I move that authority for road closure be delegated to the chief of police,
be recognized to be, because it already is.
be recognized to be delegated to the chief of police, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand it, I'm sorry.
That the authority for road closure be recognized to be delegated to the chief of police, not, and not unsaid, the unspoken part is, and not to the highway superintendent.
Just to get it out there, I think she wants.
Yeah,
To
Does
inform
this
the public.
include all road closure, like road closure for parties?
yeah, I think road, all
There
road
really are
closure.
public safety
Yes.
questions.
He owns the roads.
Yeah,
So really, instead of delegated to the chief of police, it should be the purview of the chief of police?
Did it be recognized? It is the law, because we're not delegating, we're not doing anything of the sort.
Does the
I
chief
don't
of
think it'd be
police
good to think of,
have any objections to that?
No.
I don't think it'd be good.
Then
to
I'll
make the
second
public think it was delegated.
all in
You
favor?
know, it's the law, it's the law.
John.
That's it, just, I'm having a discussion.
That's
He
why
wants a walk.
I didn't put delegate in it. That's what I was asking.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
and I bet that will stop a lot.
Nick, if,
Yes.
if I could, you were out of the loop over the weekend, and on my own time, I answered on the list a number of inquiries, and things did get pretty crazy. People talking about, I wasn't flat out name calling, but things got kind of wild, and at
I
one
thought it
point,
was a little crazy, and I in fact responded to some of it last night. I wasn't quite out of
I don't think I've seen it. Was it to
I
me?
haven't seen any of that.
No, to the general group.
I don't think it hit the list yet, Nick, but,
Huh.
the result was one town official emailed each of you select board members, not me, but one of you shared it with me, that that I was engaging in nasty bullying. Because I'm writing to you because of the nasty bullying attitude toward the Warwick residents displayed by our town administrator. Is this really how you want the town government, the select board want to be represented? Personally, I think it may be time for David Young to find a new job. He's done a lot for Warwick, but bullying should not be allowed. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm afraid the response I would put in, if you asked me, is he has been guilty of bullying in the past, but this was not one of the occasions.
Yeah.
And if you like that, I'll do it. If you,
That's, well, I mean, as I shared this with some of my friends, some of them said, well, yeah, you can be a bully. Well, you know, bullying is a fireable offense, but you gotta come up with an example. And I went through my replies, and only 2 of them were with my Warwick, town of Warwick email address, and still on my own time. One of them was a question, can you clarify, because when somebody's posting had Monday and Tuesday on it, because it was old, before the time got changed. And I clarified on, you know, let's say town letterhead, yes, changed to Tuesday and Wednesday. That was it. The second time, Shu texted me in the middle of this, rather than dive into it, and I said, Chief Shoemaker assures me that we'll be officers at both ends to make sure no one passes and to give directions if needed. Those were my 2 official acts. The rest of this stuff was on my own time, on my own email address, and the craziest of my responses, you know, with my address attached to it. And so the real question I have is, do you, my bosses, need me to stop? Do I need to cancel my personal account and be 24/7 a representative of Warwick and not say anything pithy like, my favorite, the word of the day is breadcrumbs. You know, or it looks like this is going to be a test for some. Good luck. I try to keep a good humor. In fact, over the years, dealing with the public, that's been something that people have constantly come up to me and said, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep your good cheer. Well, this is part of how I do it. But I can cancel my Warwick List personal subscription and probably just ignore Warwick and the Warwick List and these kinds of questions over a weekend. I don't mean to cause trouble, but I don't think I was bullying the public.
I doubt that you were. I don't personally respond generally to the list because whatever I say, someone's going to be upset, so I just choose not.
It's so hard, especially in a small town, to
Right.
my recommendation
divide your
would be
official.
that you say explicitly,
Just tell them to cut it out,
In a
don't let it happen
situation like
again,
that.
and move on.
this is my own opinion, I'm not acting as coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's,
think that would be,
yeah, that's,
Kind of like my brothers used to say to my mother, are you being mom or are you trying to be a friend here? You need a marquee. Because she would revert.
like that, yeah. Do we have anything else? We have a coordinator report.
which is excellent.
Boy, I can't thank George and Robert Day enough for keeping the town hall water going. And I'm 58 years old and I didn't want to go down in that hole. George is got a decade on me and I don't know how many hours he spent down in that cold hole.
He actually went
Really?
down, right?
Yeah. Fire department pumped it out and they repaired a leak and then looking around found a number of more leaks in a stain. Fortunately, it's a quality stainless steel manifold, but the 30-year-old white nylon fittings were failing. So,
Maybe it would be appropriate to write a note of thanks.
sure.
Put it in the newsletter too.
Yeah.
George has done a lot.
Yeah.
With the water especially.
Their labor and $14 of our hard-earned money,
Yeah.
and it's working again. So the postcards went out. One next big task, besides the Green Communities thing, if it passes, is publicizing the housing rehab community development block grant application that I'm in the process of working on. What I need to do is complete the project list and the community development statement, hold a hearing on our behalf for that, and then work on getting a waiting list going, because a strong application says we have need, here are the properties. So that's, I'm going to do a direct mailing. I had the assessors do a sort on the property record cards, which are characterized by the condition of housing. So I do targeted mailing to those who are fair or worse condition. And others could certainly apply. You see the income guidelines are. And we're also looking at some kind of planning activity. And one of the thoughts that I'm working on is to try and use this money to figure out how to bring this kind of money or other public financing to the fiber to the home project. And then another thought I had, because the Board of Health is quite rightly leaning on me about the situation with the Knight property, which he's been cited for. It turns out I cannot find anybody who takes tires without a charge. So I was hoping we'd be able to get rid of tires, because there's such a vast quantity of them, for somebody who regrinds them into pavement or something, but everybody wants at least $1.50 a tire. And there's a lot of rubbish there. So trying to come up with any kind of income stream. I'm going to talk to council about, and the Department of Revenue about perhaps the town becoming a receiver of the property and mitigating it and putting lien on it, but I don't know where we'd get I would estimate it's about a $10,000 cleanup, and we could put a lien on the property, but I don't know, we gotta get the money from somewhere.
What about the tires that have been ground up and used for road coverage?
That doesn't work.
Doesn't?
Oh, yeah.
We tried that in New York.
No, we're using it. Hockingham Road was surfaced with a 20% chrome rubber.
Yeah. Could we donate them?
Well, the problem is they get plenty of them by charging people for them.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't there a place in Fitzwilliams or somewhere that was taken?
I've checked around with, what is her name, who runs the Orange Dump, lives here in Warwick?
Priscilla Curtis.
Priscilla Curtis, she's a good source of information. I've checked with our solid waste district. There's no place to get rid of tires. And there's too many of them for everybody to turn them inside out and paint them white and have a planter in their front yard.
I can make a phone call to somebody that works in a local tire distributorship and see if he's got any ideas.
Okay.
That's not keep off.
So that's something that looms, continues to linger. The property's got a serious tax arrearage on it. The condition is poor. I think that Warwick treasurers have over time avoided taking properties like that for taxes, because you're basically getting less than you had before you didn't own it. It's not a terrible situation, but it's the closest thing that we have of a Brownsfield.
Keeps him super fun.
Much.
You would have to.
So anyway,
Inside of
when
it.
I did CDBG for the town of Athol, we got money to tear down structures through CDBG. So that's another one that I'm going to talk to the agency about, so that we could do a declaration of spot slum and blighting for that property, and get public funding through a grant to clean the place up. I don't know, I'm thinking out loud, trying to figure out how to address this. doesn't seem like a fair thing to like lay on the transfer station and just say, okay, I'll order some dumpsters, send them down there in the enterprise fund, pick up the tab. Just, everybody else pays.
And I guess it's also not fair to the rest of us to pay our taxes that's sitting on the rearage.
Has the other dump stuff been removed? Weren't there appliances and everything?
I think all the metal is still there too, and that was something that there could be some revenue stream from, but unfortunately, the price of scrap steel
Yeah.
is very, very depressed right now.
Oh.
So when people were knocking on your door asking if they could go out in the woods and look for cars and scrap, those days the price of steel was $200 or $225 in that range. Now it's been as low as $110 in the last couple of months. The town gets a blended rate through the district, and the last check we got was $160 a pound. But by the time you take out the trucking and the rental on the dumpster and all the associated expenses, and somebody's got to literally pick the stuff up and place it in the dumpster, the whole thing. And really, my hope was free tires, get some money from recycling all the metal, apply that to the disposal costs, but it's not working. So I will make a report to the Board of Health too.
I have a suggestion that we postpone discussion of the letter until we can read your version.
We need
And-
we need a draft that takes into account all of your.
Okay. The problems I have is that the letter cites the Department of Energy, and we don't have one, we have the DOER. It cites that the DOER has issued a certificate of public good or necessity or something like that. Well, they haven't, and they don't. It is the Department of Public Utilities who would be the one for Massachusetts that would issue
And
this.
they haven't
And
acted
they have
either.
not. They have not.
Somebody was in a
And-
hurry, but they stapled that together.
And then, in respect to asking the governor to force them to use a specific technology to maintain the pipeline, I think the answer we'll get is, sorry you missed the boat, but the governor signed a law about 2 months ago that fines the pipeline companies for leaking, and fines go up to $2 million a day. And I think that, he send this letter saying they should be made to do this, they're gonna say, hey, we just took strong action. They're the ones that know how to do this, they'll use appropriate technology, and we're in a position of fining for leaking. So, I think the major thing that the letter, in my opinion, would say is that we want you to withdraw your support for it and make it an administrative priority that this thing not get permitted, at least not unless it uses existing already be spoiled right of ways. I think there's someone who would just say no anywhere.
Need to say no anyway.
Okay.
So take out the thing
Right.
about Department of Energy
Yeah.
and the whole thing about what that would do.
And in fact, the governor
Except
has.
we don't necessarily want to cross that out because it could be changed into recommendations to the Public Utility Commission. Yes.
Well, I don't think they get into prescriptions
I think let's
for
just
how
keep this to the governor.
I'm sorry?
Let's just keep this a message to the governor, not involve others.
My understanding is the governor has softened on his support for this. When there's Nick, who studies this stuff a lot, saying this gas supply could peak in 3 years, and the industry running around saying this is a 100-year supply, before you build a pipeline, somebody ought to really figure out which one is closer to the truth.
That was one of my amendments. That it shouldn't be approved until there's a resolution of whether it's 3 years or 100.
A little bit of difference.
Yeah. How do we want to do this?
Don, you willing to write it? I'll dig up my notes.
Sure, all right.
Okay, do you mind calling me with your draft?
No, I might even send it to you if you can receive it.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else? I don't think so. Is there a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
second?
And you guys noted I'll be out of town for the next 3 days. I'll be home at night, but there's a Western Mass Broadband and Economic Development Conference in Springfield. And